we've broken Justin. I'm very sorry, but cheesy Vegemite was a real thing.
The two worst tasting things that I could possibly think of
Mm.
that isn't sour cream, and you're putting those together.
Hey, I'm Gemma, host of I Don't Know What We're Talking About and the person behind Gemma Watches Stuff. Here's how this show works: one guest, 5 topics, one surprise selection, and absolutely no script. Just pure, fun, chaotic conversation. This episode, I'm hanging out with Justin Main. Justin is an actor, stunt performer, professional wrestler, and personal trainer, combining athletic skill with a strong screen presence. His credits include appearances in Chicago PD, American Rust, and the feature film Deadlock. Let's get into it.
Hello, my name is Gemma from Gemma Watches Stuff, and today we are chatting with the incredible Justin Main. Thank you so much for coming on and giving me an hour of your time today. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited to do this. I've heard quite a bit about it, so I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, fantastic. So this is the podcast. I don't know what we're talking about, and basically you have no idea what we're talking about. It's pretty straightforward. You've emailed me 5 different topics, and I have selected not one topic, but 2 topics today. We're mixing it up a little bit.
Two. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, throwing a wrench in my plans. All right.
I'm throwing it out there, so you haven't really got no idea what we're talking about. I was very impressed with the topics that you sent, such a wide range of different things to talk about. And one of them was really funny. And I was like, this is great. We'll dive into that. And then another one, I thought, actually, this is a really important topic. And I think this also
Mhm.
deserves to have some conversation around it as well. So, because of that,
Beautiful.
you're going to be the first guest on my podcast. We're going to jump into two. We're going to smash out 2 topics in one episode. Reckon we can handle it?
Let's do it. I'm ready. Bring it.
The first topic I selected from your 5 is the best and worst food. And in brackets, you specifically put why cheese is the worst of the worst. Fantastic. So what are we going to? We'll have to go with this.
Yes, cheese is terrible
Why? Why?
because it's bad. It's just so bad. It's not good. Look, as a topping, it is fine. Burgers, pizza, tacos, maybe burritos, stuff like that. That's okay. Eggs, I can handle it with eggs. Cheese on its own is where I have the problem. String cheese, blocks of cheese, literally eating like just cheese by itself, where it's the star of the show. Macaroni and cheese, queso, I just can't get with it. God forbid cheese fondue. Ugh.
Yeah, you have a background in health, personal training, fitness. You're also have
Yes.
a lot of experience with pro wrestling, so that's why I'm assuming this topic has come no cheese. I'm assuming that's why that was something about that.
Hey, look, I have a little bit of flexibility in my diet. I love my sweets. I love ice cream and stuff like that. I can't get with cheese. I just can't. There's other foods that I can't get with, but cheese is like, in my personal opinion, the most overrated food item on the face of the planet.
It's a strong opinion. It's a very strong
It's a
opinion.
strong opinion, very strong opinion, and I'm not backing down from it. I am sticking to it.
Drawing the line at cheese. That's it. There's no going back.
There's no going back. If you're a cheese fanatic, you're basically a mouse.
So how did you come to form this opinion? So obviously you've worked in pro wrestling and obviously health conscious and things like that. What was the journey into discovering that cheese was a no-go zone for you? Or as a child, eat cheese sticks? Or this is just from birth, you just knew that there was no cheese?
I think I just had it from birth, to be perfectly honest. I don't think I ever liked it. I remember when I was a kid and I would ask my mom to make macaroni and cheese, I would ask her to make it without the cheese, just the macaroni. And I know that's weird. I know that's strange. But I did. I asked her literally to just make macaroni and cheese without the cheese. I think I put like a little bit of salt on it, and that was about it. But growing up, like I noticed that I didn't really like cheese on anything I ate, even like regular burgers at home. Like I didn't like cheese on it. I would get cheese off of like if I were to go to like this before I became a lot more health conscious, like when I would go to Taco Bell, I wouldn't order cheese on like the taco, the double decker taco that I would get. Like I just never wanted cheese on anything I ate. And I don't think it was until I like learned about like feta. Like if there's any cheese I could pick, feta cheese would probably be the I guess I don't want to say my favorite, but the one I could tolerate the most. Um, I just noticed that it just became a reoccurring thing that I like a trend. Like I just didn't like cheese, and I don't know exactly why. There's something about the texture, the way the taste sits in my mouth, I get the lingering it has, the fact that it overpowers every dish that it's on. Cheese is like no matter what you put it on, you always taste it. And I just I don't respect it.
Fair enough. I think though I like the distinguish that that you've made distinction between cheese as like a topping on something, like a little bit of Parmesan cheese on a spaghetti bolognese or something, like that's okay, or some cheese on a
Yeah,
pizza. Like yeah, okay, but like eating just cheese sticks or just gnawing on blocks of cheese, like I get it. I get
like thinking about it makes me like it makes my stomach turn a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. Like the peeling of like string cheese, it just looks like it looks like a faint yellow booger to me. Like
I, now that you've said it, and now that I see it, I'm like, yeah, I see it everywhere I go
and then
now.
people like wiggle it around and it's just gross. I
String
don't
cheese,
get it.
string cheese like that, or the little, the little ones that come in wax, and you peel the wax off and you just eat the cheese like that, is a staple here in Australia
Gross.
in children
Is it?
in children's lunchboxes. I feel like every child that takes lunchbox to school, string cheese or little cubes of cheese. Or you get little
Mm,
packs where it comes with, biscuit, cube cheese, and salami or some sort of cold meat with a biscuit
okay.
cheese, and that's quite. I feel like every child here in Australia has cheese in their lunchbox. So you
That's pretty
shaking a whole,
similar to what we have here in America.
yeah, you're shaking a whole country here to its core. Like parents are going to be like,
I
oh,
am.
my kid's lunchbox now.
Australia, I'm not welcome in Australia at this point, as far as I know.
Yeah, that's.
I also do have a problem with your guys' Vegemite, by the way.
Oh no, you're gonna pick on the Vegemite straight away. Why?
Yes, I'm attacking the
Vegemite
Vegemite,
doesn't.
man. I had a friend that traveled to Australia recently. She picked up Vegemite and brought it back here because I had never tried it, right? And I had heard like, oh, it's kind of like a thing that you get accustomed to. So I'm like, all right, I'll try anything once. So I tried it. How it's supposed to be tried. I originally just took like a little taste of it, and then I put it on like a cracker, and it was the saltiest thing I've ever had in my life.
Mhm. Yeah.
I've had sardines. I've had various Asian dishes. I've had many salty things in my life. I've never had anything quite as salty as Vegemite.
When you say you tried it the way that it was supposed to be eaten, just on a cracker, nothing else, like just a plain
Yeah.
cracker Vegemite, you did it wrong.
Yes.
I'm
I
sorry.
did it wrong. How am I supposed to have it?
Okay, the best way to have Vegemite, especially for, I'm going to stereotype you a lot right now, and I understand this may not be true, but Americans or anybody, like any American who's like, oh, I've had Vegemite and it was the worst, I'm like, you did it wrong. I already know that you did it wrong. Any American who says, I had it and it was terrible, you did it wrong. Bread, okay? You need to toast, okay? You want nice, fresh toast,
Okay.
toast some bread, okay? Toast. Butter, thin layer of butter, and then a thin layer of Vegemite to start you off. To ease you into it, you have to have butter and then Vegemite on a piece of toast.
Okay. So does the butter mask the taste of the Vegemite?
No, I
Is
think
that is that is that how it works? Mm.
no. I think that's just how you do it, okay? That's just how you do it. I'm speaking on behalf of my whole country now. That's just the way that you should. So if you ever get the opportunity to have Vegemite again, toast, butter, thin layer of Vegemite.
Toast, butter, thin. Okay. What kind of bread?
Doesn't matter. Your choice.
Doesn't matter? Okay.
Some
All
people
right.
might argue with me. Some people might argue with me about the bread not mattering, not mattering, but I don't think it matters. Some people will say it has to be white bread, but if you
Mhm.
want whole grain, whatever, whatever, just
I'm
toast.
a sourdough guy. I love my sourdough bread. So if I try it again, and that's a big if,
I'll allow
I'll
it.
try sourdough.
I'll allow it. Yeah, I'll make an
Okay.
exception for you to have sourdough.
Just tell the rest of Australia to, give me, a little bit of clearance here. I've only tried it once, and apparently I didn't try it the right way. So I'll try it again.
But
I'll
yeah,
do it the right way, and we'll see how I like it.
Sounds good. Yeah, but no cheese. Some people put cheese on top of it. I'm gonna let you know. Some people do Vegemite and cheese. Australia even released, which you would hate. Australia even released.
What?
If anyone else remembers this, put it in the comments because this was a real thing. There was cheesy Vegemite, and so they made Vegemite just the same as you tried out of the jar, like a jar of Vegemite, but it was branded as like a cheesy Vegemite because a lot of people would put it on, their cracker or biscuit, what we call it here in Australia, or on toast, and then they do their butter and their Vegemite, and then they'd put 2 pieces of cheese on top of that. We've broken Justin. I'm very sorry, but cheesy Vegemite was a real thing.
The two worst tasting things that I could possibly think of
Mm.
that isn't sour cream, and you're putting those together.
You're gonna
Let
have.
me guess, does sour cream go on there too?
I wouldn't. I'm sure people
I
have
wouldn't either. Bleh.
nightmares, but you'll have nightmares about that now. So yeah, cheesy Vegemite is a thing. Um,
you couldn't pay me $1 million to try cheesy Vegemite, but so I'll just take your word for it.
it's okay. A lot of other people in Australia had that thought too. It didn't stay on the shelves very long. It wasn't as popular as the classic Vegemite, and I think yeah, the cheese just kind of wrecked it. But anyway,
As cheese does.
thing. Yeah. So let me ask you this then. Your epiphany, well, I guess it wasn't really an epiphany. You've had this idea since birth that cheese was not your thing. Was
I
your
came out of the womb hating cheese
Just like that forever? Yeah. So was your
forever.
hatred of cheese something that influenced you in your health journey and becoming more health conscious and obviously getting into fitness and sport and wrestling as well? Was your hatred for cheese influenced you on your health journey, or when you started your health journey and learned that cheese actually wasn't all that good for you anyway, you were like, yeah, that's a win?
Well, it certainly didn't, it certainly wasn't a forethought like that I had in my head when I was dieting and whatnot. Because, maybe for some people, when they're, locking in their meal plan and whatnot, maybe it is a little bit of a struggle because it's, food choice or a food item that they like. For me, that was never really that much of an issue. To me, it's all about the seasoning. If you salt and you season correctly, you can make anything taste great. But with, I guess with cheese, and it was never really something in the front of my head when I was thinking about what to put together. The only time I would ever really use it would be to put it on like my omelet. Like I would take like a fat-free, and this is the only benefit I found to cheese. Fat-free cheese is actually higher in protein than regular whole fat cheese. So if I was trying to get a slightly higher protein number up without getting any fat in, without any carbs, that's when I would throw like a fat-free cheese slice in there. But I had enough seasoning and I had enough other things to go on top of it to essentially mask the taste. And it didn't overpower the rest of the dish like cheese always does. So it's never really, I would say it never really negatively affected me because I never let it negatively affect me. And the times that I did use it, I try to make it work towards my advantage again with fat free, so that way I got that higher protein content. Um, but yeah.
I didn't know that. I had no idea. And that's really interesting that the fat free has more protein than just regular cheese.
I think it just goes through it's about the processing. I think it's how often it's filtered. And I mean, I have no idea the process behind making cheese. I know that it's just basically for long expired milk. Um, but I think it's just, the constant process of drying it out, letting it, thicken up, drying it out, thicken up, and then filtering out a lot of the fat that goes into the actual process of cheese. That's why you won't really see fat-free options of a lot of different cheeses. Is I think it's really just American, Swiss. Um, I think feta is fat-free. I think you could get feta fat-free. And I think cheddar potentially, if I remember correctly. But there's not a whole lot of choices for fat-free cheese. It's only a few.
Yeah. So how speaking of you like being health conscious and meal planning and prepping, and you talked about dieting and things like that before as well, so having this experience in being more health conscious and aware of your body, and obviously protein intake as well, you've mentioned that as well. So
Yeah.
there's some knowledge and understanding there about meal planning and meal prepping and protein intake and all that sort of thing. was being health conscious and meal prepping and planning something that you had always done, or was that something you know learnt about later in life, or you'd always had a passion for that sort of thing, or how did you get into? So some people go their whole lives and they don't learn about protein intake or anything like that. They just eat what they want to eat.
Right. So for me, before I became certified as a personal trainer and a nutritionist, and before I got experienced with it, um, I'm the type of person that, like, when I get interested in something, I dive headfirst into it. Like, I try to find any resource available that I can read or watch or listen to. Um, I ask, for help and advice from people that have more experience than me. So when I was first getting into this journey, like, I was trying to find every single piece of information I could. And in that process, I learned about like meal prepping and planning and stuff like that. So even at like a really early age, because I started getting into fitness when I was, I think, 15, 16. Because I was overweight when I was a younger teenager. So like, every teenage boy goes through the same issue. Get heartbroken by a girl, and then you automatically think like, I need to get myself in a better shape, and you start working out and you start eating better and all that. But even then, like, eating healthy and fitness has always been a huge thing for my life in terms of not like just my physical health, but like my mental and emotional health as well. And as you get more experience with it, you start learning, tricks and little things to make it easier. Like, I remember even when I was a teenager, like, I would make bowls of no cheese on the pasta, but I would make bowls of, pasta that I would grill chicken, cut it up, and it's so basic. All I would do is salt and season it a little bit, and I just mix the chicken in with the pasta, and that was it. But that was like my early form of prepping. And as I got more experienced with it, it just became more of a thing. I started learning what I liked, what I didn't like, and how I could make a lot of those foods work for me, and how I can make them in batch, and make it enjoyable for me. Like, even now, my breakfast is the same thing every single morning, and it has been for like the past, gosh, I think since 2017, 2018, and it's a high protein waffle with chocolate chips melted down and drizzled over the protein waffle. I know the exact macros behind it. I know how much fat, carbs, protein, fiber. Um, I know the exact ingredients. I've never like it's the same thing constantly every single time. And it's because I have a hell of a sweet tooth and I like getting my stuff in. But I need to make it work for me as opposed to work against me. And I found a way to do that. So I think the trick is just trying to figure out what you like and what you don't like, and how you can make it not only convenient, but something that won't hinder away from any potential results that you want to get.
Yeah. I think you mentioned something really important that I want to highlight in that you want to make it work for you, not you work for it. Like, you're the one who's got to eat food,
Correct.
and if you hate it, like if you absolutely hate this food and you go on one of these, crash diets and things, and you're forcing yourself to eat these things that you absolutely despise, it's not going to work for you.
Mhm.
Or at least in my experience and other people that I know who have thought about, their weight or their health, or are trying to be more health conscious, and even just learn about the things that they're putting into their body, whether or not it's to lose weight or build muscle or whatever it is, in that we want to learn more about how our bodies function and what it needs to function and what we should and shouldn't be eating. Like, if there's a particular food that you probably should be getting more of, or a particular thing, and someone has said, oh, this diet, you should try this, or you need to eat more of that, and it's a food that you absolutely hate, you're never going to stick to your diet. You're never going to stick to your,
No,
and it's just not going to happen. And so the fact that you've already highlighted, you have to make the food work, what's going to work for you, not you trying to fit the plan. I think that's really
right. And and that was part of, when I was going through my nutrition course, that was one of the major things that was highlighted when I was learning about, I known about nutrition for quite a while before then, but like when I was like really going through the course and like figuring out the small little details and the ins and outs, that was one thing that was hammered in time and time again. Try not to take away or subtract. Always try to swap or add. And the reason being and the logic behind that is that, you so often we feel like we have to change around our entire life to accomplish a dream and a goal when we don't even realize that we already may have the resources there. They're just not working for us. So trying to figure out a way to make them work for us not only allows for better adherence for clients to get to these, I mean, sometimes these are huge goals. Like, I've worked with enough clients that have wanted to lose, 60, 70, 100, 150 pounds. And the last thing you want to do is take away everything they've known for 20, 30 years. It not only does it stress them out mentally and emotionally, it stresses out their body physically. It's an addiction. So you have to figure out ways to make those meals and those food choices work. And you don't do that by taking away. You do that by swapping out and replacing. You do that by maybe adding something healthy in. So that way they become more accustomed to that healthier item and they can make it maybe a better choice when it comes to what they do going forward. And I found that it works vastly better than going on these huge crash diets or these very highly restrictive diets. Um, I mean, keto, paleo, carnivore, even being vegan, it only works for a select few people. And if that works for you, by all means, if you can keep it consistent and you're not being there's nothing that drives me more nuts than somebody who's being a dick about their diet and then telling the rest of the world, I am this person. There's no other correct way. Like, stop. It works for you, great. But you don't have to try to get other people to follow your cult. Okay. It's like calm down. Something works for everybody, so just relax. Um,
I guess
but
that's so important though, because you see these people, you're scrolling on Instagram, you see stuff on TikTok, and who are like, this is how I've done it, so this is how, if it works for me, it's going to work for you. And I think pointing that out, that it doesn't work for every body is different. Everybody's
mhm,
body is different, which means it's going to take
right,
different things. Some people can do vegan, vegetarian, other people it just doesn't work for them. People have allergies, people have food intolerances, people
mhm,
have different things that works for them or doesn't work for them, and these things all have to be taken into consideration. So the fact that you see
right.
people online who go, well, I'm a professional and this is what worked for me, and it's this is how it's going to work for you. It's not as simple as that.
It isn't, and I've come to find that the best diet that anybody can do is a consistent one.
Mm.
It's the one that you can stick to. It's the one that you can do for, the rest of your life. That's the best diet you can be on. That's the best food choice that you can make. It's the one that you can do consistently time and time and time and time and time again without having, the stress of feeling like you're going to fail it. Um, because, another thing with weight loss that happens or with people getting, whatever the goal is, sometimes they'll lose the weight and then they all of a sudden gain it back because they reached the goal and then they dramatically change their diet back to where it was at. Well, I got there, I don't have to keep doing it. You have to keep doing it. Otherwise, the weight will come back on. I've seen it way too many times.
Yeah.
So, you have to look at it from a long-term point of view as opposed to just the next year. You got to think about it like the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Like, is this something that you could do for the rest of your life? Because if it isn't, then you need to figure out what can be done to that extent, what you could do for the rest of your life, and make those choices work for you.
And what you're saying is you're talking about discipline, and you're talking about a
Mhm.
lifestyle change, not just
Right.
changing what you eat. Because I think you're absolutely right. Like, I know people, friends, who have experienced you work really hard, you have that discipline, you work really hard on this meal plan. This is all I'm going to eat. This is, you track your calories, you do all of that stuff. You go into a calorie deficient, like you do everything that you have to do. You follow the plan, you give it 110%, and then and you're consistent, and you're dedicated to it, and then you see the results. In a few weeks, few months, you see the results, and you're super happy, and you're like, yeah, I did it. But then you stop doing it because you finished your plan. The plan is over. The
Mhm.
meal plan is over. You finished with your personal trainer or whatever you've done to achieve your goal. But because you haven't put that into your lifestyle, you just go straight back to where you were before, and all
Right.
of it comes back on 100%. So you're
Mhm.
talking about making all these changes, but not just for the period that you're working out, not just for the period that you're on this food kick, plan or whatever. It needs to be lifelong changes
Right.
which is
Well,
very,
it's the issue that a lot of people face when they do stuff like Ozempic, or if they get like a liposuction or a tummy tuck or gastric bypass or anything like that. Yes, these all can help you lose weight and a substantial amount of weight, but what are the habits that you're learning? What are the habits that you're installing? What's where is the grind? Where is the earned work that you're doing? Because I've found that the people that when they lose weight and then they stay in shape and they don't gain that weight back, it's because they've installed these habits that they learn through the process of losing weight. And sometimes it takes the hard way to do that and the hard way to learn those habits. Not saying people that, do Ozempic or, gastric bypass, they can't learn those. But I will say that the people who do it naturally, who do it, through the hard work of fitness and walking and staying active and staying locked in on a diet that works for them. All these little things, the tried and true, classics, so to speak, they have a tendency to keep it off. It never really comes back on, unless there's like some sort of, accident or something to that effect. But, you know, I've seen that to be the case more often than not, that they don't really gain it back. Whereas I've known plenty of people who have gotten, liposuction and tummy tucks and Ozempic and gastric bypass, and they gain the weight back. And it's because um, they haven't earned the habits to help keep that weight off for good.
yeah, I think you're 100% correct. I think I totally agree. The having the discipline, I think, is the key factor in any
Mhm.
meal prepping, weight loss plan, any way that you want to change you. You are changing you, and in order to do that, I think there's real value in approaching that with a holistic method rather than just, well, I'm just going to not eat that and I'm just going to eat this instead. Yes, but looking at a holistic approach, like how much water are you drinking every day? How much sleep do you get? How much sunshine do you get in a day? How often do you talk to
Right.
somebody or get a hug from a friend? Like, I think having a holistic approach to all of this as well will dramatically change and make it easier then to maintain that discipline and to maintain those specific food changes. If you're coming at it from a
Mhm.
holistic approach, I think is going to make a world of difference. And I think it's also important to highlight, and you've said it, but I'm going to say it again, that there are times when things like Ozempic and medical, surgeries and things like that are needed and required, and you should go talk to your doctor about that. And you should, if you're looking into that and you want to try that thing, go talk to your doctor, see if
Mhm.
that's a suitable option for you. Do some research, do some reading, but go see a professional, go see a PT, go see a doctor, and investigate this before you just, jump straight into thinking this is the solution for me and this is how it's going to work.
Right.
After what's
And
worked,
even then,
go talk to a professional.
they're going to tell you exactly what a PT would tell you. Like, yeah, this will work, but what are you going to do after? Like, they give you, they're going to tell you exactly what you need to do to keep it off. They're not going to promise that it's going to stay off. They're going to tell you that you still need to follow a fitness routine. They're going to tell you to stay active. They're going to tell you to eat well. They're going to tell, like, you can't just keep going back to your old lifestyle after you do all this stuff. Otherwise, again, it will come back on. And it typically comes back on worse. Because at that point, some with some of these situations like gastric bypass, like they're highly restrictive. Ozempic is highly restrictive, and that has a tendency to affect your metabolism, and sometimes not positively. So if you, I don't want to say destroy your metabolism, but if you negatively affect it and you gain that weight back, it's going to make the next time that you lose weight even harder. So it is vastly important to have, again, the discipline, like you're mentioning and bringing up, and these habits installed, so that way, like, your chances of success go up dramatically.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, I think doing it in a way that's safe as well is something that's really important. Like if you are going to go down that road, this is why you talk to a PT, you talk to a doctor who's trained, who has the knowledge, who has the experience to help you and support you in this journey. Because again, doing it alone without any help or support is also going to be difficult because you're talking about it's changing a lifestyle pattern. It's using discipline to stick to these things. Like for example, you eat the same thing for breakfast every day and have for years. That takes discipline to do that. Yeah, you're satisfying that sweet tooth, but I'm sure there's sometimes when you're like, you know what, I really just want to eat, whatever else, and there's opportunities and ways to work around that. But doing the same thing like that, to eat the same thing every day is actually very impressive and would have taken a lot of discipline and skill and learning and knowledge for you to realize that you're getting your right nutrients, you're getting your right macros, you've got enough protein in what you're doing. Like you had to learn that. You had to change what you're doing. You said 2017, I think. Like you had to change what you were doing
Yeah.
for 2017 to start that process and continue it. And that takes discipline, that takes research, that takes knowledge, that takes learning, and that takes changing your life in order to make that happen.
Right. You turn it into a routine, and that I think that's my idea of success is anytime you can install a habit and then turn it into a routine. Like just like you brush your teeth or you take a shower, you make it like that. It may not be the most exciting thing ever, but it's something that you can do and not even think about, and then you're done. Um, I some people tell you that they want they want you to think of the gym as like this exciting place and stuff like that, or they want you to think of like certain foods as like super exciting. I kind of disagree because you can kind of burn out that way. You can enjoy it for so long and then get really tired of it, and then you get bored, and then you start looking for the next exciting thing. Whereas if you look at it more from a routinized point of view, it just becomes a daily thing that you don't really think about. And if you don't really think about it and it becomes a consistent thing, it's already part of your pattern. It's already part of your day. It's already part of your life. And you don't have to, it's one less thing that you have to worry about and stress about and think about. We already have so many stresses in our daily life trying to figure out when we're going to get our workout in or when we're going to, when we're going to do this or that. And if you can do one less thing, or if you have to think about one less thing, then I think that's actually more of a benefit than a hindrance, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. I think what you're talking about routine is really, yeah, is really interesting. And I agree 100% because I think I heard this thing and I use it all the time when I'm talking to people about routine or building a plan or something. And, the last time you drove your car, you put your seatbelt on. But if you think about the last time you drove your car or you were in a car and you put your seatbelt on, do you actually remember specifically putting your seatbelt on? And most of the time, the answer is no. You can't think the last time. I don't specifically remember exactly what I did, but it's just such a habit. It's something that we do all the time. Whenever we get in a car, we put our seatbelt on and we do that. And that motion just becomes part of our routine whenever we get in a car. We don't even realize that it's part of a routine, but it is. When you get in a car, you put on a seatbelt. You don't even remember doing it, but you do it, and you do it every time you're in a car. You should be. If you're not, you need to be putting your seatbelt on. But like it's
Yes, 100%.
it
I
becomes,
couldn't agree
it
more.
becomes part of this routine that we do, and we don't even think that we're doing it, but we do. And if you look at building habits and building better lifestyle changes, putting it in a routine, making it become a habit is going to be the way to achieve those results quicker. Because
Right. And going back to the seatbelt analogy, like you don't think about it, you just buckle your seatbelt. But imagine the one time that you don't, and you get into a car accident and you die. You know, it could be as simple as that. Like if you just keep buckling your seatbelt, at some point it might potentially save your life, you know, because you made it a habit, you made it part of your routine, even if you don't even think about it. So I think that's really important to keep in mind. I think that's a really good point that you brought up. It's a great analogy. Um, so yeah, to me, I really think it should be part of your life. Like my breakfast habit, like it almost I almost feel weird not doing it. Like when I don't do it, my morning feels off. It's the moment where I get to kind of just like chill out. I get to, listen to a podcast. I get to, just it's my moment of the day where it's just like I'm good, I'm relaxed, it's before pretty much everything starts. So, um, yeah, no, I think it's really important to try to find ways to not only make your diet but your fitness routine kind of fit into that mold of your life is trying to turn it into a routine to some extent.
And I think you've also mentioned something really cool, which I want to touch on as well, habit stacking. if you like podcasts and there's a book that you're really trying to read, or you're a movie fanatic and you're always watching it, you're binge watching a TV series at the moment or a movie that you absolutely love, technology is amazing. Most gym memberships have treadmills and things that have screens built into them that you can, you can log into your Netflix and you could have something
Mhm.
on your treadmill just to walk. You don't even have to go full out the gate. You could just go to the gym for 45 minutes for an episode of your favorite TV show, chuck it on your treadmill and just walk for 45 minutes, and you're stacking
Yeah.
habits because you'd be watching that show anyway. You're going to make time in your day to watch that 45-minute episode of your favorite show, but you're going to
Mhm.
sit on the couch or you're going to sit in bed. Just
Might as well make it productive.
on a treadmill, like, you might as well just like habit stacking. And if there's a podcast
Yeah.
that you're enjoying and you're working on, there's ways to incorporate things in your life that you do something that's fun. If it feels like a drag to go to the gym or go for a walk or to do something like that, stack it with a habit that you already have. With you read a book in the evening before you go to bed. Read your book at the treadmill. You like this podcast or this new album that you've been listening to on repeat. Stick some headphones in, go for a walk. Like, there's ways to
Yeah.
stack the things that you already do and enjoy with the thing that you might not enjoy so much, to put them together to make that work for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a great it's a great recommendation, stacking and whatnot, finding ways to combine things so that way it's, what may seem like a grind, becomes a little bit more tolerable. Yeah, I think that's brilliant. Great idea.
I think we'll pause here because we're about halfway through our time together.
Sure.
We wrapped up that quite nicely. So we're going to play a game, and it's called This or That.
This or that, it's time for this or that.
The way this game works is I have 4 different questions for you, and it's pretty self-explanatory, just like the podcast. I'm not very creative when I come up with things and names for things, obviously. So I'm going to give you 2 things, and you've got to pick one and explain why you picked the one that you picked. So we've got 4 questions for you.
Okay.
The first one for you is movies at home or movies at the cinema?
Ooh, ooh, ooh. This is starting off hot. Um, might be controversial, but movies at the cinema. And the reason being, there is when you see the right movie with the right crowd at the right time, there is nothing like that experience. It is like going to a concert. Everybody's laughing at the same time. Everybody's, they're gasping at the same time. They're, like everybody cites like Avengers Endgame, like seeing that opening night with like a fully packed crowd was, like everybody's hooting and hollering and, they're making noises and stuff like that's an experience. It turns the film into an experience, which I think elevates the entire moment of the movie. While there is I love watching movies at home, especially like quieter movies, something that isn't as bombastic. I just don't think you can replace the cinema experience on opening night with a packed crowd of some sort of film that a whole bunch of other people who are excited to see it at the same time. I don't think you can replace that.
I think there's such a unique experience with that, and the crowd and the environment, and yeah, it's just something very different. There are good things about watching movies at home, but I think for the experience of going to the cinema, you make a good point. Has there been a movie that you've gone and seen at the cinema where you've had that, wow, this is really cool moment? Was it Endgame or was it something different that you've ever had? Or
I've had a few. I would say my favorite movie experiences have been Endgame was fun. But I think my favorite experiences were oh, you have me go way back. Jurassic World
oh yeah, we're a
was
fan.
a really fun
Yeah,
was a really fun experience opening night. Um, believe it or not, Pirates of the Caribbean,
yeah.
Dead Man's Chest was really fun. That was a loud, loud audience. Spider-Man, no, or I think was it No Way Home, the one with the I'm like brain farting right now. It was the one with the other Spider-Mans.
Oh,
Um, yeah.
Holland,
Well,
yeah,
that,
the new one.
yeah, Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield, and then Tobey Maguire. That recent one, that was a fun experience. And then recently, Weapons was a really fun experience.
Yeah.
That was really fun. The whole crowd was in on it. So yeah, so those are probably my favorites, especially Weapons recently. So
I 100% agree with you. I had a unique experience at the cinema, and as soon as you were like cinema because of the gravity around going, I was like, oh, I my local cinema did a thing for Father's Day, and they put Jaws on at the cinema, and you could go and
Oh,
Jaws, and the whole idea was, you bring your dad, bring whatever, bring your granddad, whatever, come and watch this. And so I took my dad for Father's Day, and I took him and we watched Jaws. I had seen it, but like a very long time ago, and I had forgotten about the jump scare. And the thing is, with this crowd, you've got you got lots of teenagers and young people bringing their parents, and so a lot of the younger people hadn't seen Jaws before. I had seen it once, and but there was so many people that you after this one moment in the movie, I was like, none of you have seen this before. All the oldies, all the dads and the parents in the audience or whatever were like, they knew what was coming. But it
oh,
was
of course.
packed because it was a Father's Day special, so it was packed. But the moment that the shark comes up and there's that jump, the one particular jump scene in Jaws,
Mhm.
the audience was screams and the environment, and everybody was like and then you hear all the dads in the audience laugh or giggle or whatever, and it was just such a fun moment. And I jumped because I had forgotten. My dad smacked me and was like, wait, you should have remembered this, like, come on, don't get scared. I'm like, yeah, I remember. So it was just such a fun. I think there's something really unique about going to the cinema with a crowd for a particular reason or purpose, whether or not it's opening night or it's a special, or there's something happening, to get to be
Yeah.
in the magic, in the beauty of cinema. Yeah, 100%. Great answer.
Yeah, you can't beat it.
Number two, you have to always whisper or always shout.
Oh boy. Well, my hearing's already bad enough as it is, so whispering is probably not going to be my choice. Shout. I would probably go with shouting. There's nothing that beats a good whisper, though. I will say that, especially if you like, close human connection. It makes you feel a little bit close. But based off of my hearing, shouting.
That was my first answer when I was coming up with these questions. I would totally pick shouting. But I had asked this question to a previous guest, and she blew my mind with her answer because she really thought about it. She was like, I'm going to go with whispering. And I'm like, oh, I instantly picked shouting just because I'm loud and I'm going to yell at you in my hearing. Yeah. And she was like, yeah, but with whispering, you can just microphone. Like there's,
Oh,
you get a whisper, that's all you've
oh,
got.
it makes sense.
You've got ways to amplify volume and microphones. And I was like, I didn't put enough thought into that answer. But I like yours too because it was the same as mine. It was the initial, I'm just going to yell. Like, I can't hear anything. I'm just going to scream. I love it.
I mean, I work at a gym with a radio playing like at maximum audio level, so I have to sometimes shout regardless. So maybe I'm just used to it.
Brilliant. Number three, slow internet or hitting every red traffic light.
Oh boy. There is nothing more aggravating to me than hitting every red light. I feel like the universe is out to get me. It hates me on that moment, and I can't. I'm usually always running late as it is. That's probably my one red flag. Like my one biggest red flag is I am always like at least a few minutes late. Um, so when I hit every red light, it is, ooh, I'm stressing. I'm stressed. I could deal with the slow internet. I cannot deal with hitting every red light.
Okay, fair enough. For someone who's time conscious, yeah, okay, good, fair call, fair call. All right, final question for you. You
Sure.
have the option to spend a day with your 10-year-old self or spend a day with your 80-year-old self.
10-year-old self without even question.
Oh, that was quick. That was quick. You were ready on that one. Why?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Because my 10-year-old self was, he went through a very interesting period of his life. And I think he needed more support back then. He needed more love and acknowledgement. And 37-year-old me learned about that, over the past several years through, soul searching and deep thinking and therapy and stuff like that. And um, now knowing what I know now, I think being able to guide my 10-year-old self through a lot of those moments that he went through would have made life a bit easier to understand and to navigate.
Beautiful answer. And I think that finishes our game of this or that. So thank you very much for playing.
Mhm.
But I think that is a beautiful segue because I did say at the start of this we were going to try and smash out 2 topics in our hour together because you sent me 5 and they were amazing and incredible and very random. And that I thought one was very important that you sent in. And I think this is a great segue into that because one of the 5 topics you sent me was men's mental health. And I think that's a very
Yes.
big, very broad topic. And we've got about 15 minutes left. And I think that it deserves some conversation and some opportunity for you to tell me why that was one of the 5 topics that you could comfortably talk about for some time. So other than cheese on the list of things that you sent me, men's mental health. And so they were the 2 topics that I wanted to see if we could smash out today. So we're not going to have enough time to dig into it as this topic should, but we'll give it a red hot crack and we'll have a go. So why
Sounds
men's?
good. Well, it's such, God, this is such an expansive topic that it's just really hard to figure out where to start at exactly. Um, I think in today's day and age, and this is no fault of anybody, this is not no fault of women, of men, this is just how things are nowadays. There's so many stresses and the world is changing almost it seems daily. And a lot of men I'm not even talking about myself, but like, a lot of men that I know personally, that, I know like that I've been best friends with, or men that, I know online, that I talk with consistently, like it seems there is this stigma about men talking about where they're at emotionally and mentally, how stressed out they are, how it feels like we're in a society where men don't feel anywhere near as important as they used to, where we feel like we're being, I don't want to say ostracized, but you're being delegated to not being needed or important or not feeling that way, whether it's through the workforce or it's through, cultural changes or it's through a variety of different things. I mean, you see it in the media, how men are kind of like the butt of the joke. They're the ones that are taking the brunt of the blame for certain events that are happening. Um, I don't want to say this is true of every single specific thing, but you see it more now than you ever really used to. And it makes you wonder, like, where do we go from here? Does this get better? Does this get worse? How do you defend yourself in some of these moments without sounding, obviously you don't want to come across as somebody um, who is ignorant towards the needs of others. That's not the situation at all. But you also don't want to come across as somebody who is selfish and and unwilling to understand and empathize with what other people are going through. So I think to summarize, I think men are just kind of in this weird predicament, and it's affecting overall mental health, in terms of how we just kind of figure out our role in the world today.
Sort of like the scales have tipped too far now to the other side over time,
Yeah,
or there wasn't equality. Men and women were not treated as the same, and we could really dig into the history of that. We don't have time, and we're not going to, but we could. That and there's been so much growth and change around that to make things more equal and fair and equal rights opportunities and all these sorts of things. But now we may have tipped too far in the other way, and you're sort of saying
Mhm.
that. And I'm a woman, I can't speak to this, but you're sort of expressing that men now feel a little bit, well, now how do we fit and function in this new world now? Because we've brought
Yeah,
everything this way, and maybe the scale has now tipped too far, and we need to kind of find some equal footing again. And you feel that it's sort of gone too far the other way. Now you're kind of lost with your place in the world. Is that
yeah,
what you're getting at?
yeah. I think that's for the most part, yeah. It just feels like, and there was always an issue with equality. There was always an issue with, making sure not only, certain minority groups were, on the same level playing field, but obviously women as well. And I'm glad that we've been able to more or less balance that out and make it far easier for women and those minority groups to be able to live comfortably and happy and whatnot. But I like you said, I think it has almost swung too far, and it's starting to swing a little bit further out than it needs to. And I couldn't even tell you how many times I've heard, like from just friends of mine, that they didn't feel like no matter how many times they tried to vent or talk, like nobody was listening to them. Even with therapists, like therapists were just not taking them seriously. Like there's always the stigma that you just gotta kind of, you know, you just gotta ride it out. You just gotta, put it away and just and deal with it. And it's not how you handle, you know, negative emotions, right? You don't just bottle it up and put it away. Like you have to kind of see through it. You have to experience it. You have to go through it and feel every bit of it and understand it and process it. But when you have people, a lot of people telling you that, it's you're too sensitive, like I've had people in my life tell me I was too sensitive. And in those moments, I didn't even think I was that sensitive. It was just because I was, upset about something and I had every right to be upset about it. And I'm being told I'm too sensitive because I'm upset about it. Like, I'm just telling you how I feel. So you just want me to bottle it up and not share any of it and then let it fester and get worse? Like that's how things ferment, right? That's how fruit ferments. Like you just put it in a little pickle jar and let it just rot away, and it just ferments and ferments and ferments, and it gets worse. Um, I don't think you handle emotional and mental health the same way. I think there needs to be, you know, I think men should have the ability to feel comfortable sharing their thoughts and their feelings without feeling like they're going to, I don't want to say offend somebody, because if you have offensive feelings, for example, like it's like something really, really bad that obviously needs to be taken into consideration. But I think they should not have the fear of like they're walking on eggshells or, um, feeling like they're going to be called too sensitive, or they don't feel like their partner or whoever they're talking with like thinks that they're weaker for talking about how they feel. Um, I think that's something that needs to be addressed a little bit more um, consistently in today's day and age.
So thinking about that then, if you were in an ideal world, what would creating a safe space for men specifically in the context that you're talking about, what would a space like that look like that allows men, because I like that you've made a distinction between emotional health and mental health, because I think they're two definitely interconnected things, but I think they can
Yes.
also be looked at very separately and differently, because there's emotional health and then there's mental health, and we can separate those. So let's look at emotional health, because I think that's sort of the conversation we're talking about. That what
Right.
is a safe space for men to be able to express their emotions and their emotional health? What would that look like?
Well, I think it's honestly it really depends. It's a subjective thing because it really depends on who you're talking with. I think the first thing I go to is maybe like a partnership or a relationship. You should, in my personal opinion, I think a safe space is being able to relate to your partner the exact same way they relate to you. So if you have to have that conversation. How do you vent? How do you talk? How do you want to be talked with? How do you want to have these conversations? Um, I think there should be you should be able to have those conversations and not fear that your partner is going to walk out on you or judge you or assume the worst, right? And I think the same thing goes for like, working relationships and friendships and stuff like that. And, I think it's to me, if you want to talk about equality in terms of how we vent and how we talk, you look at the opposite side of the coin. So like if, and I don't want to specify this strictly towards women, but I feel like women in today's day and age are far more free and able to talk about how they feel and what they think than at any other point in modern history. And I feel like but you look at it from like a man's point of view, it's much less. Like I go onto TikTok, like that. I can't stand TikTok for a lot of the stuff that's on there, but you know, I feel like women are free to talk about whatever they want, and that's perfectly great, and that's fine. I feel like men aren't afforded the same opportunity. So being able to equal out that playing field, I think would be a really good place to start, trying to eliminate that stigma of that happening. But a lot of that is in the acceptance of the person listening. It's such a complicated topic because it's not just how can we ourselves vent out those feelings and be okay with it, but it's also in how the person is receiving them. And if the person that is listening is not receiving them or not willing to receive them well, there's not really much you can do.
Yeah.
So it's more on the man at that point. Like, is this somebody I can have around that, has my best interest in who I am and how my health is? Do they have that in mind? Or is this somebody that's willing to go through the process of trying to understand who I am, where I want to be at, and how I want to talk about not only my thoughts and my feelings, but how I handle a lot of these situations. So, it's again, it's such a complicated topic, and I wish there was one correct answer for everything. I I don't think there is. I just think there needs to be. I think empathy is starting to unfortunately not become a cultural thing anymore. I think it's going on the wayside. I think a lot of people are losing their ability to empathize and to understand. Um, you're seeing it a lot. You're seeing it in this us versus them mentality that's in the world today. Like, if you're not with us, you're against us. It's this black and white type of nihilism that is going on in the world. And I think once we can learn how to empathize again and understand and put ourselves into each other's shoes, maybe that's where we start changing the tide of, I don't want to say just men, but just everybody. They feel less lonely, less isolated, less like you know, like nobody cares about them. And I feel like, unfortunately, a lot of men feel that way.
I am in a different culture to you. I live in Australia, you live in the States, and but even here and in the things that are happening, geopolitically and out here and what's happening in the States, and it really impacts the globe. And even over here in a slightly different context, I can still see things happening here within my country and my world, that it's what you're talking about, in that there's no gray area anymore, that it's you're either for us or against us and there's no in between. Tolerance for and understanding what somebody else's different point of view is gone. If it's different to
Mhm.
you, then it doesn't matter. Then it's wrong. Like, and I think that we've lost the concept of taking time to understand somebody else's point of view. You can disagree with it, or you can agree with it, but it's actually taking the time to understand it. Is sort of, I think,
Right,
what you're getting at, in that there's no space for men to feel or express what they want to express and feel understood, in that if it's
right.
not there, it's not there. And I think I have a history in working in mental health. My day job, I'm a wellbeing director, so I work a lot in the wellbeing and emotional and mental health space. And in some of the training and studies that I've done over the years, I found this thing which I always love telling people: when you want to communicate with somebody and you need space or time to get something off your chest or talk about how you're doing mentally or emotionally, and you want to connect with somebody in that way and have that sort of conversation, and you're not sure how that person is going to take it, or if they've got space for it or time for it, or they're even willing to hear you, I've found the best way to approach that is to ask and communicate straight up. Hey, I want to talk to you. It's about some emotional stuff, some mental stuff. Do you have space in your life right now to hear it? Like, do you have the ability or capacity right now to hear what I want to get out? And if their response is no, you have to respect that. And then you do what you were talking about before. Then you have
Right.
to take stock. Are they somebody, if they're consistently saying, no, I don't have time to hear that from you, I don't have the space right now to do that. If that's, if they have fair reasons, then they have fair reasons and you've got to go find somebody else, because you have to respect that they've said, no, I don't have time to hear you right now. Okay, fair enough. Go find somebody else. But if this person is constantly and consistently, without good reason, saying, no, I don't have time for you, no, I can't hear you, I don't have space listen to you vent or talk about what you need to get out, then it's time to, take stock and reevaluate that relationship and the space that you're giving that relationship. And that's what you were kind of getting at before, wanting to have a space for this stuff to get out, but feeling like there was no one there, or nothing there in the world where, there was space to be heard, I guess. Does that make sense?
Right, right. No, it does, and I more or less that's essentially what I was getting at was that I just feel something happened. I don't know what it was. I mean, you could say like it could be you could say it maybe it was COVID or things that happened in the world since COVID, but like I just remember the early 2010s, like then even the mid 2010s where this wasn't as much of an issue. Um, I feel like it was easier to talk with people, it was easier to empathize, it was easier to find people that wanted to listen, um, and that were willing to. And then something happened in the past few years to where it almost kind of tilted the axis of I guess people's room to empathize and their room to be able to hear what you have to say without automatically just shutting it down. Um, I I don't know. I just personally hope that we can go back to, you know, this room to just be able to understand. Being an actor, like part of my job as an actor is to put myself into somebody else's shoes, right? I have to understand their life. I have to understand where they're coming from. Some of these people that I've acted as, like, they're not good people. Like, they've done horrible things. But one of the things that you learn as an actor is that the person that you're portraying, even if they are a terrible person, you can't hate them. You have to find redeeming qualities of them. You need to figure out who that person is. Because even deep down, that person thought they were a good person or they thought they were right. They might have had best friends. They might have had good friends. Like these are still living, breathing people with emotions and thoughts. So you have to find a way to empathize with them in the process of building that character. And when you go through that and then you kind of like look at the world as a whole and you start seeing the differences between the two, like there's just this severe lack of connection. Like people just don't want to connect anymore. And that's not even just a man woman thing. That's just people. Like they just refuse to connect. There's this fear. It's an innate fear of just letting go and just connecting. And um I do hope at some point in the future that does heal itself because I feel like the world is just hurting right now. It's in pain and you're feeling it. Every country in the world, every demographic, every society, every culture, it's just hurting. Um, I know this kind of evolved from like a men's mental health to like, to this as a whole, but I do think I do think they go hand in hand with one another. I think once we can solve the ability to empathize better, I think you can start seeing certainly men's mental health improve. Um, I don't want to speak for women because I'm not a woman. I'm not part of that, that part of the world. But I would hope that it's the same for women as well. Like if whatever you guys are going through, like I hope that heals as well. And I can only really speak for, my side of it. So. Uh, I just hope for a healed future.
I 100% agree with you on that. I think that uh, the world is in pain and hurting, and it's every time you open your phone or turn on the news or scroll through TikTok or something on Instagram, like no matter where you connect or how you connect with people, majority of us use a phone. Um, there's something painful that's there. There's something hurtful. There's something difficult. There's something that takes a toll on us emotionally. That it's hard, which I think also plays into then not wanting to connect, which is what you're talking about. There's a space in the world right now where it feels like people don't want to connect. And I think you've highlighted a really important thing too, that as an actor, your whole job is about that connection. Your whole job is that emotional vulnerability to connect with a fictional character, a fictional person. And yeah, then it's a TV show or a movie, it's not real, but it's a person and people are real. And you're trying to portray that as being real. And your whole job is about maintaining that connection. And you're doing that
Yeah.
in a world that isn't valuing connection anymore. So I feel like you've touched on a really huge topic that, you know, as an actor, you have to do that, but you're doing that in a world that's so against connection now. So I think that puts you and a lot of other, or any actor really who is passionate about their craft, it really puts you on the forefront of it because you are going to be more sensitive to it. You're going to see it more. You're going to see the lack of connection. You're going to see the hurt. You're going to see the disconnect more, and you're going to feel it more intensely than anybody else because that's your job. Your job is to connect. And so I think similar professions like psychologists, counselors, well-being, you know, people that work in the well-being space are also on the forefront as well because they see it too, because their whole job is, you know, taking that connection. And so I guess people in that world are sort of more open and sensitive to it, and that can be really disheartening and discouraging and painful to be trying to connect with people in a world that is disconnected.
Yeah. And I'm sure you're seeing it on a daily basis with the people that you talk with. You know, this is it's a lingering, ongoing issue that just doesn't seem to be able to solve itself.
But I think having conversations like this and being able to talk about it and finding, even if it's on the other side of the world on a podcast via Zoom, finding somebody who's willing to jump on board and have that conversation and just get it out there to whoever will listen and to whoever wants to accept it is the step towards healing. And I think that's sort of all we can do
100%.
is to find people who are willing to have the conversation and who are willing to connect and engage with it, because if we don't try, we're never going to get anywhere and there will never be any
Right.
healing. And we have to do something, otherwise we're just going to, again, bottle it up, you know, like you put it in a jar, let it fizzle and rot on the inside, and that's it. And we can't live like that either. So I think
Yeah.
having these conversations and moving forward in a healthy way is the only thing we can do.
100%. I guess not to go into too much of a tangent, but that's part of how I was able, for the most part, to heal myself. I still deal with depression every so often. It's just part of it's just part of who I am. But part of how I've been able to deal with depression and anxiety and stuff like that was through community. It was through talking, finding people that wanted to listen. Despite like what was going on, like. I went through some very tumultuous periods of my life when I was 10 and, to this day, like, I've been through some stuff. And I think the thing that's helped me out the most, besides obviously stuff that was productive to help push me into a better direction, but what really helped me the most was understanding that there were people around me that wanted to listen. I just had to find them and I had to sort through the ones that, maybe didn't have my best interest in mind. I think the thing that we think about as men is that we even talk about how we feel like, we might be a burden to somebody and maybe to the wrong person, but to the right person, you're not a burden. You have to just understand that there is some sort of right person out there for you. Uh, it may not be who you thought it was. It may be somebody completely different, or maybe somebody that you don't know. But there are people around you that are that are willing to listen and to hear you out and to be there for you. Or if you don't even want to talk, like they'll just hang out with you and make sure that you're not alone in whatever you're going through. And I think maybe that's maybe I'm answering my own question now from earlier, but maybe that's where we start with men is getting them to understand that they're not alone in their struggles and their isolation. Like they have a community around them. They just need to be able to reach out and not feel like they're a burden.
I love that, 100%. What started as a tangent ended up bringing us back full circle, and I think that's beautiful. And I love doing this podcast because we have no plan, no script. We didn't know we were going to end up here, and I think what you've just summarized about this whole last half of the conversation that we've had, I think is a beautiful place to end, and it's
I
hopeful.
think so too.
There is hope out there, and it is doable, and it's possible, and just one little step into being open and having conversations like this every day is all we can do. So thank you so much, Justin. This has been a fantastic conversation. I have loved having you on the podcast. This has been fantastic.
Yeah, I've had a great time. Great topics. I would love to do this again sometime if you want to have me back on. Thank you
I'd
for
like to.
having me.
Yeah, we'd be definitely happy to have you because I feel like we only just hit the tip of the iceberg on that, and we were ambitious to fit two topics in, but I feel like
Oh yeah.
there's definitely more space for more conversation to be had, and I would love to have you back on again. Now, before I do let you go, though, if people have enjoyed this podcast and listening to you today and learning more about you and the amazing topics, I like that you said the topics were great. You picked them, so well done. People want to learn more about you and they want to see stuff that you've been working on, television and film, what can they watch to find you and where can they contact you for social media?
Yeah, so recently I did Chicago PD. I was in season 12. I played a character named Ray Gorman. You can catch it on Peacock, or I think it's rerunning on NBC and USA. Other projects I've done, I worked as Deputy Roth in the first season of American Rust on Showtime, which I think is on Amazon Prime now. Um, I was in a Bruce Willis movie called Deadlock. I played a character named Trevor. I also have my own version of Crow that's out there. It's kind of like my own interpretation of it that got pretty good critical acclaim. Um, Beyond that, I've done pro wrestling for years, so you can see a bunch of my matches online. I did things off and on with WWE in the past as well. If you'd like to, reach out to me or follow me on social media, my Instagram is Justin Main Official. Main is spelled Mane. Some people spell it Main. Not correct. It's Mane, like a lion's mane. I also have a Facebook, the Justin Main. I have a Twitter, Justin Main Off. YouTube, Justin. I'm pretty easy to find. Just Google search Justin Main and you'll find me.
We'll pop all of the links for your social media accounts and everything somewhere here. So scroll somewhere, you'll find it. It'll be here. We'll pop all those somewhere as well so people can connect with you and follow you and keep up to date with everything
Awesome.
that's going on because you're a busy man with lots of stuff happening. So that's very
Oh
exciting.
yeah, I try to.
All right, amazing. Thank you so much for your time today. We'll look forward to having you on another episode.
Absolutely. Just let me know when and I'll be there.
And that's it for episode 6 of I Don't Know What We're Talking About. Massive thanks to Justin Main for joining me. This episode was fun and a little cheesy. I'm sorry, I had to. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you follow and subscribe wherever you listen. And don't forget, you can get early access and behind the scenes extras over on patreon.com/Gemma Watches Stuff. Now, go enjoy some sunshine. I'll catch you next time.